with your marketing next? Well, you are on the right place. Welcome to MinkLife Live. And today we're going to talk about what to do next. Welcome, everyone. And it is going to be a fun conversation today. We're going to do things a little different than we normally do on Mink Life Live. We are just going to chat because I am here with my very good friend, Amy Lancy. And when the two of us talk about branding and marketing, it just like goes on and on and on. So, Amy, in case anyone doesn't know who you are and hasn't heard us talk before, please introduce yourself and tell us why you are passionate about helping people with marketing strategies using your zone of genius.
Oh, beautiful. So, hi, everyone. My name is Amy Lancy. I am the queen of Untold Story Enterprises and the Milk Crate Mastermind. And everything that I do, whether that's offering copywriting, private consulting, or courses, or mastermind, or facilitating groups, it's all centered around communication, because I truly believe that when we are speaking our audience's language, when we know what stories of ours to tell, we're able to really take off in terms of visibility, in terms of attracting our ideal client, and also with making selling easier.
And you forgot to add in that you are also a badass author who wrote a book about communication styles. So, I mean, let's not forget that.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so sorry. My book called Listen Up talks about the secret languages of intuitives, creatives, and analytical thinkers. So if you want to get a better idea of how language is not just by country, it's also by industry and just the way our minds think, then pick up my book on Amazon.
Because, people talk about, we've all heard the 5 love languages, and we, I show love by acts of service, or I show love by gifts, or whatever. But we also communicate different. We have different communication styles. And when I read your book, I was like, oh my God, I never thought about it like that. Like, what I need in a conversation is not what my husband needs in a conversation. And vice versa. And I was like, even though your book was it's good, like how, as an entrepreneur, how we can communicate effectively in our marketing to our clients, all of those things. As you know, I'm like super passionate about marketing. I mean, about how we present ourselves and how we do that while building relationships. And when we think about the language that we use, it helps us build those relationships, because I think people should really be, hey, Gary, he was just at another podcast I was on. This is my new LinkedIn friend. Anyway, when we use our communication to build relationships, we are then building relationships that can turn into sales. But we're not thinking about people as transactions. We're thinking of people as people. And the way we communicate makes us feel, I've started this new thing. When I get an email or text message that makes me just feel special, I've been printing it out and putting it in a notebook. And the reason is because I was kind of keeping like a digital, like flagging them, but I never went back. So I was like, you know what is it that makes me like feel like I bought some dog probiotics for my dog the other day, and I got a thank you from them that was like, oh my God, they care about my dog. And it made me feel so special. And I was like, how can I make people that interact with me feel that special, And I think that your book is very helpful in that. So this was not sanctioned to just promote your book, but you know how it is.
Oh, thank you so much.
So let's move on and let's get motivated. Why is reviewing your marketing tactics, why is that important for professionals if they want to grow their business?
Well, when it comes to any professional, especially when you have your own business, you're continuously evolving, you're continuously learning, you're continuously changing your offers. And so when that happens, anytime a big change like that happens, whether that's like because you felt like you need to change or your audience has changed, like you have to reevaluate everything, including the marketing strategy, because the same marketing strategy that worked for one audience, for one offer, is not going to be the same. It's going to probably have different results for a different audience or a different offer. And it's always good to just be on your toes and know where you're heading.
I love that. That's so true. I think for me, I just did this in my own business. I became my own client. I was like, because I've been making a lot of changes this year in 2023. I've been doing a lot of changes. I've been building community for professional photographers. And all of a sudden I was like, where do I send people? Like Monica asked me, what's your call to action, for this show? And I was like, oh my God, I don't know where to send people. And so
Yeah.
I kind of went through and I just like reevaluated, where do I send people? How do they
Mm-hmm.
feel? Like, what do they see when I send them to this site? How does
Yeah.
this site work? Where else does it lead them to? Because sometimes I don't know, I shouldn't say sometimes I like start adding stuff, and then all of a sudden it's just a big jungle of mess instead of a easy transaction of getting people where they need to go and making it easy. So I think for me, why it's important to review your marketing is the same thing, because who are you talking to? Where are they going?
Yes.
What do you
Mm-hmm.
want them to arrive? And really focusing on that. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think
Oh yeah. Yeah.
that's really important. So, all right, it's time to stay inspired. So, how has not changing your marketing and not reviewing your marketing been a
Mhm.
problem for you in the past?
For me personally, it's been a problem because if I am really feeling like I need to offer something else, but I have the same marketing strategy, the same messaging, people got confused. People got confused. They kept thinking about the old message, about the old offer, about, okay, Amy is this girl. Like people like to categorize people, unfortunately. And so once they categorize you for one thing, if you don't change your messaging and your strategy just right, they're going to revert back to what they know, which is the old category. And that's going to be completely wrong. And if you're hoping to move forward, to grow in a different way, then you're going to have to do the legwork to undo what you did before and then keep going. And you're going to have to undo it anyways. It's just that you can't just assume that it'll just unravel on its own. You have to say, hey, you know what, you guys, I was doing this and now we're moving on to bigger pastures, and this is what we're doing now, and be very clear, very blatant, and repeat yourself over and over and over and over again. I know that for myself, um, when I first got into communication and copywriting, I still had my full time job in sea turtle genetics, and so I found that when I was talking about my business, I was telling people I had a full time job in sea turtles. The moment I said sea turtles, people could think of nothing else,
Nothing
and
else. Every time I
nothing
think of you,
else.
I still think of sea turtles.
Sea turtles, yes, because it's very hard to compete against a whole species of charismatic, adorable creatures. But anyway, so I call this for myself. I call this the sea turtle conundrum. The sea turtle conundrum was that people couldn't think of me other than sea turtles, even though they knew me for years when I had ran my business, and building that up as I had my job. And so what I found was that I had to get out to speak more, and it wasn't exactly that I said I had to go speak more. It just happened to be that as I was planting seeds, I had more and more opportunities to get on virtual and in-person stages to talk about my story, to talk about what I did, and I had to do that over and over again, and I loved it. I followed the trail. That's what flowed, and before I knew it, I think more people know me now as me, and rather than the girl who worked with sea turtles. So just saying that because of those speaking opportunities, I had to get out there again, over and over again, and I had to redo my marketing strategy.
I think for me, this was one of the hardest things. And that is because for 27 years, I was Portraits by Peggy. And then,
Mm,
7 years ago, I changed from Portraits by Peggy to Headshots by Peggy, which is just a really slight change. And that was
mhm,
really because, portraits is an old name. People don't say it. They don't think about portraits, that way anymore. And B, I wasn't really doing family portraits as much. I wasn't promoting that. I was doing headshots. So
mhm.
that in itself was a small change. It really didn't, like, I literally kept my logos the same, my fonts the same. I literally changed one word just to make that transition really easy. But when the pandemic hit and I started doing a lot of these business conferences, and people saw me as a speaker, and I was like, that's weird because I don't see myself as a speaker. And
Oh, okay.
and so I think it was really hard for me to step into that fully because, like, I didn't see myself as that. And then, even though I've spent well over a year building this program to help professional photographers, and now I'm launching it. It's in that stage where it's being rolled out. I've got a community
Mhm.
built. All these things. It's still like when I speak and people ask me what I do, I'm like, uh because I'm still a photographer. Like, that's still, like, I still do that full time. It's not like I
Yeah,
stopped one thing and I started another thing. I still do that full time. And so Monica has really helped me understand that I can be all those things to all people. Like, I don't have to,
yeah.
and really identify what crowd I'm in and what they need to see me as. But
Yeah,
now I'm really starting to walk into that, really comfortably step into being in that place, working with other photographers and helping them and guiding them and kind of helping them to run their businesses in a thriving way. So, but it's that thing where I think a lot of it is you have to come to grips with yourself, right? Because
yeah.
you say that other
Mhm.
people only saw you as the sea turtle lady, but did you kind of see yourself as the sea turtle lady? you know like, how long?
In some
Because, like,
small way.
if I
Yeah.
worked with sea turtles, I don't know if I would have walked away from that, because that's kind of cool. I mean, I don't know if I would have walked away from that identity, I still would have kind of wanted to hang on to that, like, and by the way, like, I'm kind of a badass that, like, does test on, the ocean and stuff. Like, I help keep the
I
world
think
alive, you know.
I help keep the world alive. I think that when it comes to anything that we've done in the past, it's like we're always proud of it or not. Okay, there are things in the past that when we own them, we are always proud of it, and they're always a part of us. I think it's a matter of, does it still represent who we are now, as well
Right,
as the brand that we want to present? Because Peggy, when I think about you, you whether you are doing portraits, whether you're doing headshots, whether you are teaching photographers, it all stems from you being a successful business owner as and a photographer. It's all one and the same. It's just different audiences get to have a different slice of your knowledge. And so, but you're still like, if you just came up to me and said, I'm a photographer and I teach other photographers too while I'm at it. It's like, well, that makes sense because she has mastery over herself as a business owner, over herself as a photographer. Of course, she's going to teach people as she's still taking on clients. So to me, it makes complete sense.
Yeah, and I like that. Thank you. That felt
Yeah.
like a compliment, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It is.
But yeah, I think sometimes if we step back when we're talking about when we're having that marketing thought, like how are we marketing self, how are we branding ourselves, is really step back and think about like how do we want people to see us? You know,
Yeah.
what is important? What are the important things that people need to know about me? If somebody just meets me today, what is the most important thing I want them to know about me? And then start building that marketing and that branding around that one thing, so that all roads lead to that one thing.
Right, exactly. I found that with my sea turtle conundrum, what I've had to do is tell people my story, right? I've had to tell people my story about what I've overcome. And then I throw in the sea turtles afterwards. I find for some reason, if I leave with the sea turtles,
Well,
then
we're
people
talking about
can't
sea
let go
turtles
of
the
it.
whole day.
I know. They're like, we don't care about anything else, Amy. We just want to hear about the sea turtles. Like, no, wait, I have so much more to say. So just so you know, if you guys have something similar, if you've had a really interesting career before you started your business, like the kind of interesting that people just can't let go of, talk about how interesting you are first and your business, get them wowed up, and then talk about the past. If you want them to just not lose their attention on your past, you want them to stay
Well,
present in right now.
and sometimes it's not even about getting lost in the past, but sometimes that past can add credibility to
Yes,
your
that's true.
present, because like you learn things working in that world that helps you in this world,
Oh yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
I've been a professional photographer for 30 plus years, so I've learned things that help me in that.
oh
But
yeah.
if I lead with I'm a professional photographer, then people are thinking like, what kind of photographer are you? Like, do you do events? Do you do wedding? Like, instead of like, I'm doing this. And I also, kind of bring that in as the support. Would you say is that kind of what you meant by that?
Yes, absolutely. Because, when people think about communication, or even when they look at, some of the copywriting services that I still offer, they automatically think that I am the kind of person that is just always just in the creative space. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that once I let people know, no, I actually worked in sea turtle genetics for 14 years. They're like, oh, there's this whole other side of Amy, this other side of the brain that we had no idea, but we were assuming wasn't as tapped into as like the other side. Like there's some light bulb that goes off in people's heads. They're like, wow, you just like added like another layer to your onion. Like I don't like I didn't know. Like how on earth did you get here?
Right. How did you get here? And also, I also think there's sometimes when you're when you're an entrepreneur and you're in a creative service-based thing,
Mhm.
I know for me, I often would get the whole, oh, your little business or your little thing, or like I was like some little woman that just had this little hobby.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and so I think that society sometimes wants to look at a female that's working and just assume that, especially if it's in a creative source, that, that
Yeah.
maybe we're not that qualified. But isn't it cute that we're out there doing something? And then when you're like, yeah,
Right.
I researched genetics of sea turtles for like over a decade, then it's like, oh, maybe she has a brain too. That's cool.
I know. Isn't that interesting that when we talk about our creativity, people don't think we're using our brain, but then the
Hmm.
moment we say like something with science or math or analytics or spreadsheets, people are like, "Oh wow, you have a brain." I'm like, I always had a brain. I just
always had a brain. Like, how do you think I came? I heard something a while back, and I'll flub it up, but I'm gonna say it the best I can, and that is how we put all of the credit and all of the thing on STEM. The sciences, the maths, the all the that kind of work, and they cut out all the arts. They cut out all the arts from school.
Yeah.
They like arts are not important. Arts are not important. Go to work, go to work. But the second you get off work, what do? You turn on the radio. And then when you get home, you turn on the TV, and then you go like,
Yes.
so it's
I
really hard
know.
to say that the arts are not important when we probably spend more time in the arts, listening to music,
Oh yeah.
reading a book, all of those things than we do actually working. So it's kind of funny how we judge the importance of things, but when you step back
Yeah.
and look at the big picture, it's like, hmm. and
Right. Right.
and all of
Exactly.
those people in the arts are out there running a business, and most of us are doing it on our own or with very little support. So thank God we're part of this amazing community, so we have
Yes.
support. But and if you need support, this is definitely the place to go. So
I think that if you are in a very creative space, especially as a business owner, because we're all creative, that's why we got into this business because we wanted to create something. But I will say that if you're in an especially creative industry, such as photography, like for example, that's the time to really judge up, your portfolio, or like not even just to judge up the portfolio, but like push it forward, be like, yes, I do photography. That is from a creative space, but look how amazing these came out. Look how much care I put into this work. Look at my art right here. It's something to be so proud of. And, people can feel that when you're proud of your work, people can feel that, and then that's when they just get super curious about, oh, I wonder what else they can do. I wonder what they could do for me. I think that that's part of changing up your marketing strategy, is to also really just change how people view you by showing them. It's like we were talking about before, like, by showing them how you want to be presented.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think that well, I used to say that I ran a very successful hobby for 15 years because I didn't run a business. I made a lot of money in my hobby, but it wasn't until I really took the time to educate myself and figure out how to run a business that I actually, realized all the things that went into it, and like I left a lot of money on the table, even though I did really good. But if I think back on it, and I think if I would have had any knowledge or training on how to run a business in the beginning, instead of fumbling through it and just kind of, charging for my hobby, because that's all it was. I mean, I had a business license. I paid my taxes. I didn't do anything illegal, but that was literally the extent of it, is is I didn't go to jail for the IRS didn't come after me. And that was the business, the extent of my business. But as far as understanding how to market myself, understanding how to brand myself, I just, was very fortunate that, I had a lot of word of mouth, and things
Yes,
went
yeah.
well for me. But think if I tried to brand myself, think if I marketed myself, think if I charged a reasonable price instead of the pennies that I used to charge, think about where I would be. It's kind of funny. So I think it's all those things. And I know we were supposed to talk about branding, but all of this is branding. Like,
It is. It is.
branding isn't about a logo. Branding is about the way you talk about it, the way you see it, the way
Oh,
you
yes.
show yourself from the very beginning.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you, I even tried this. I tried to Google branding a brand. It was nebulous at best. Like there was no clear definition of what a brand is. It wasn't just, oh, it's your logo, oh, it's your colors. It was just basically just all the ways that a brand is something that represents your company, something that has the life force of what you want to project onto your audience. It's also how you want your audience to feel. It's your core values. It's all of these things, and it's a huge concept. And so, yeah, it's more than just logo and colors. It's really about intention. It's about how you want to be represented, how you want your business to be represented in the world, and then having that representation lead to instant recognition. It's like when you think about Nike, just do it. It's like, well, shoot, I know what they mean by just do it, because there's like the just do it of like the drill sergeant, just do it. But there's also like just do it. Just do it. Like, why not?
Right.
Just do it. But we all know that because it's their branding.
Mm-hmm. And you see that swoosh, and you don't have to question it. It's like, oh, I know what that is.
Yes. And I still call it a check mark. I know it's more of a swoosh, but we call it a check mark. But we all know what it is. We all know what it is. No, I think that branding, it encompasses everything about just what story, what message do we want to tell, and then it's the marketing part that really communicates that, and repeats it over and over and over again because people need repetition.
So the reason that Amy and I are such a good team is like I can take you through and figure out like how you want to use your headshots as part of your marketing strategy and how we can incorporate that into your branding. And then Amy comes along and she like helps it like with the words, because most people know like words are not always my specialty. But Amy can like what did you call yourself? The queen of
the queen of untold story enterprises.
Yes, Amy can bring the story out of you that you need, that your people need to hear, and it's really it's an important thing to have that story, that brand, that whole encompassing thing to really push you forward so that people know exactly who you are and what to expect. All right, so I was supposed to be pushing this show along here. So let's talk about networking. Who should we talk to when we need help improving our marketing strategy?
Well, when it comes to our network, I would first tap in with your closest business colleagues. And when I mean your closest business colleagues, I don't just mean your best cheerleaders, because you don't want people who will just say yes to everything that you do. And I have my people who are always encouraging me, but for something such as changing up a marketing strategy, you really need someone who's willing to get real with you, but lovingly and nurturing, and has your best interest at heart, and will give you constructive emphasis on constructive criticism, and will also, who also knows what you're striving for and has a good knowledge of marketing strategy, period. So I would say tap into someone like Monica at MinkLife, tap into, the people who you're normally masterminding with, tap into the people who you're always whiteboarding with. I would say talk to those people. If you have a mentor or a coach already, obviously talk to those people because that's what you're paying them for. I would definitely make sure that when you're talking to your network and you're looking to people who are going to help you, make sure that they can be real with you. You can trust them. They have your best interests at heart, and they have some adequate knowledge of marketing strategy.
I like that. And also I would say, look at the market, look at where your ideal clients are hanging out, look at how other things that are being marketed to them that they're reacting to, look at things that are being marketing to you. Like I said earlier, like I'm starting this notebook of emails and text messages that I get that like catch my attention. I am one, like, my husband gets so irritated with me because this is how I go through my emails. I'm like, archive, 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 archive. Oh, okay, I'll look at that. Archive, archive, archive. And he was like, "You're probably throwing away important emails." And I was like, "Then they should call me." Like, I don't know what to say. So
Yeah.
the emails that actually catch my attention, that I actually read, then I'm like, why did that catch my attention? What was it about
Right.
that made me open it up? So when something does catch my attention, I'll check it out. The other day, somebody was selling
Mhm.
something, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to sign up for their free thing because I want to see what their process is. Like, I want to see what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I went to their webinar, I did the whole thing, and I was like, okay, this is not how I want to be treated. Like, I don't like this. So note to
Yeah.
self, this isn't how I want to treat my. So, look at the pros and the cons and think about how
Yes.
it makes you feel. And think about
I love
how,
that.
because remember, we're building relationships. We're not making
Yes.
transactions. If you just want a transaction, then do that whole 48-hour sell. Oh my God, buy it now or it's gone forever. That's fine. But if you want to build relationships, think about how it makes you feel and think about how
Mhm.
you want to make your ideal clients, your customers feel, and make sure you do that. Make sure you make them feel that way.
You know,
All right.
I
What?
love that I was gonna
Oh,
say, I love that you suggested jumping to other people's sales funnels as a way of networking because it is in a way, it's very indirect. I mean, it's direct and indirect, right? Because they definitely want you to be in their sales funnel, but you're actually just taking a peek. I've done that before too. And let me just get real. Everyone does that to some extent,
oh
just
yeah.
to be like, I wonder what this person's offering. And sometimes you just do it from a strategy standpoint of, I want to see what they're doing with what they set up. And so I love that you pointed out that jumping to other people's sales funnels is a way of networking and is a way to help yourself with your own marketing strategy. So thank you. That was ingenious.
All right. One last tip. What is your
Okay.
brilliant genius tip that you want to leave with our listeners
Okay.
about getting their marketing strategies going?
What is my one brilliant tip? Let's see. I've said a lot of different things on this show. I would say that when it comes to your marketing strategy, you have to know your offer like the back of your hand. You know, if you're not sold on it in any way, shape, or form, you're not going to be able to sell it to anyone. And so if you're still in this the ideation phase and you're kind of describing it to people, but it's in a very vague and broad sense, and you're clearly just kind of wandering around in the fog. Um, that's not the time to execute a marketing strategy. That's actually the time to go back to the offer itself. And once you're very clear on what the offer is, the call to action, the audience, everything this entails, and you feel it inside of you that, like, oh my gosh, this is an award-winning idea. This is going to help so many people. I know the problem it's going to solve. I know who I'm going to sell this to. That's the time to finally think about the marketing strategy. I think so many times you want to get to marketing strategy and then it flops. And it's because we weren't sold on the idea in the first place. So I would say be sold on yourself first and then go out to sell.
I think that was gold. I don't think anything else needs to be said. This whole show was summed up in that. That was gold, Amy.
Thank you.
Absolutely gold.
Thank you.
Because that is true. And I have been guilty of that myself. Like, I have a
Thank you.
concept and I know it's good, but I haven't said it out loud enough. And when I say it out loud, I'm like questioning it. And I can hear myself
Yes.
questioning it. And I'm like, they're not buying this because I'm not selling it. So
Yes.
I'm going to just jump onto what you said and say, do that out loud. Like, say things out loud.
Yes.
Say your prices out loud. I tell the photographers that I work with all the time, walk around and say, this is how much I charge, and say it out
Right.
loud. I
Yeah.
was working with a photographer a few weeks ago. I've been working with her for a long time, but it got to the point where we're like, okay, it's time to talk about prices. And she was charging like so little. And I was like, all right, let's think of like, and I set a price that was I knew it was going to be way out of her zone, out of her comfort zone, so that, we could kind of compromise. And she felt like, and I said, okay, for the next week, I want you to walk around and say this price out loud. I want you to like look in the mirror and say, this is what I charge for this kind of a session. And I want you to say it out loud for a whole week. And as soon as it doesn't make you like feel like you're going to throw up in your mouth when you're saying it, I said, text me and I'll change your website for you. Like walk around and say it.
Wow.
And so do that with not just your prices, but with your offer. Walk around and say it out loud, because all of a sudden then you'll be like, actually, that is badass. No kidding. Like,
yes.
What?
Yes.
I do all that for people? That is crazy. Yes. So say it out loud. That's going to be my one tip. That is going to be my one tip.
Say all right, Amy, loud and proud.
It is time for announcements. And clearly we don't have the voice in the sky. You're stuck with me today. So nobody's going to sing announcements to you. Monica is not here. So I am just going to let you tell people what's going on with you.
So I am still offering consulting in terms of, helping people to figure out what their elevator pitches are, how to describe what they really do, as well as figure out what stories they need to tell. So if you would like to book a chat with me to see how I can help you with that, go to this link down below, bit.ly/wordswithamy, and I'd be happy to talk to you.
Awesome. And see, I'm running the things in the whole anyway. All right. So I am going to book a call with Amy because I just wrote a 1 minute, my little elevator pitch, and I want to see if Amy likes it. So if you want to hear my one minute elevator pitch after Amy's worked with it, then book a call with me and let's chat. Even if you don't want to hear my one minute elevator pitch and you'd rather tell me about what's going on with you and you just want to build a relationship, book that call. Go to headstrategist.com/let's chat. Anyway, so now let's talk about what is going on in the community. And here I am. See you guys. I'm doing good here. Okay, oops, I've got a thing up that's not supposed to be there. I'm sorry. There we go. Live TV, folks. Live TV. All right. And it came back up. Okay. You can join this chat more organized, because normally I'm behind the scenes or Monica's behind the scenes, but more organized every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. and every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're watching this on LinkedIn, if you're watching this on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you're watching it, follow and subscribe. That way you won't miss any of these amazing chats. And I believe that you've got me again next Wednesday. So yay. And if you're like, you know what, I do not need to watch you, I got stuff to do and places to go, then find us on Spotify or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. These podcasts go up within hours of going live. So make sure that you subscribe to those as well. And if you are like, you know what, I want to go hang out with you and I want to be on this podcast, then what I need you to do is go to minklifemotivation.com/live and fill out an application and get on this show and hang out with us and have a ton of exciting fun hanging out and talking about business, branding, marketing, and all the things, the networking, all the things that go along with it. So Amy, thank you so very much for hanging out with me today. I always love hanging out with you, and everyone else, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.